So, for this week, we decided to do a personal movie pick by recommendation, and I was lucky enough to actually choose the movie that we were going to watch. And yeah, it's a good one. Well, at least for me.
I would almost make this a two movie review to make it interesting.
Well, sure, fair enough. Because it's a
You see,
comparative between an original
yeah,
and a remake, so.
I like some remakes are terrible, but I don't hate this one.
I don't hate this one either, but I still feel like the original's superior. But we'll talk more about that as we go on. So, shall we begin?
Sure.
Let's go. Hello, and welcome to the third episode of the Movie Buffs. I'm your host, Mansoor.
And I'm Yurka. Today is actually a retro episode. We're looking back at the two Oldboy movies this time around after Mansoor's recommendation.
Yep, and I was really excited to actually recommend this movie because I have a huge soft spot for the original Oldboy movie, especially since it was technically my first foreign film that I watched, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and it really exposed me more to some of the more cinema that I really, really do enjoy now. So, yeah.
So me, unlike Mans, I was a big defendant of the newer remake of Oldboy by Spike Lee. And going into this, I was just prepared to, bash the old one and
The old
praise
boy.
and promote the old one. Okay, and promote the new boy.
The new boy.
Yeah. But after rewatching it, I kind of see like a bit of more of a balance. But I still feel like some parts, one movie does better, and other parts, the newer movie does better. So for me personally, I would grade both movies a 7.
Seriously. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. I respect that. For me, I give the original Old Boy a 9 and the new Old Boy a 7. So,
Okay. I mean, that's closer than I thought, but it was closer than I expected before I rewatched this time around.
yeah,
Like
fair
I
enough.
watched a couple days ago.
Now, I mean, the thing is, the new Old Boy isn't bad, but, like, if it was its
It's
own movie, it would have been something completely different. But, like, being able to compare it to something else, it's kind of what sets it back a little. Plus, there were
yeah,
minor
yeah.
issues with the movie. But, like, again, we'll talk about that the more we go on. But, yeah.
So, kind of, I guess, because one of the few people who actually saw the new Old Boy first, and then the Old Boy second. That was the first time around that I saw it. Now I saw them in the proper order, and that kind of changed my perspective a little bit. Kind of, I there was a few things that I kind of didn't like about the new one, especially the amount of shots that are just straight up copied from the new one. Like, since you're doing a
Yeah, no,
remake,
like straight up ripoffs, straight up ripoffs. Like
I
no,
mean,
even Spike Lee said that it's an inspiration. It's like it
yeah.
was made inspired by the original Old Boy. But then
It's
if
it's
you
it's it's like the Joker being inspired by Martin Scorsese, copied.
oh yeah, what was the name of that movie again? King of Comedy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Taxi Driver.
Inspired. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
inspired.
yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. We can get that to a different day. So I guess, do you want to start? Because I kind of do like the new Old Boy. Kind of just, do you want to start saying why do you think the newer one gets so much hate and why people love the original one better? And also you can say
Okay.
your opinion, of course.
All right. Okay. So no, I'll start. I'll start with that. So basically, I can. Okay. So I understand why so many people basically adore the original Old Boy because it's something completely different than what you expect, especially like with its base storyline, its mystery, its twists, its pretty damn good action that is included within the film, and then like its final twist at the end. It's just so powerful, heart wrenching, and just twisted and fucked up in its own way. But it's so beautiful. Like you can't look away from it. You really can't. Especially with like how it's executed overall. Like you can understand why so many people love it. The thing is like with the new Old Boy, they tried taking it and Americanizing it just to expose it more to American audiences, which I do understand and I like that. But like again, you still have the original movie, which already is a very, um, it's accessible enough for a lot of people to actually be able to watch and enjoy it, even though like the subject matter itself of the movie is quite again disturbing and fucked up. But
Now, that's
yeah.
like one of the things I want to talk about. Like culture is one of the things why I prefer slightly, like in ways, the Americanized version.
Mm.
And I feel like that's it's, I guess, more on a knock of me, but
No, no, I get,
something
bro.
that
It's cool. Yeah.
it's cooler to cooler. It's more relevant to me currently living in the U.S. or in Europe. It's that version is just something I could relate to. I understand more of the language seems more natural compared to some of the stuff and plot points that happen in the Korean version, which
Well, I
it could be how people talk and how people interact and what happens in Korea, but it's not the same for me. I guess you could also imagine that people in Egypt and people in America behave very differently.
no, not as differently as you think, but like again, that doesn't mean that we behave the same as they would in Korea or as how it's portrayed in the film. But again, you can suspend disbelief on how that this can be a reality because like mind you, the
Oh yeah,
movie
of
itself
course.
is pretty damn grounded in reality. Like there's nothing unrealistic that happens. I mean, sure, a couple things are like, okay, but like there's nothing
Yeah.
like, oh my God, how can this happen in reality? No, like the terrifying thing is that all of this can happen to someone at any time. So, but anyways, no, I get why a lot of people have given hate to the new one because they consider it, like as you said earlier, a Blaine ripoff akin to like the Joker with Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, even though Spike Lee himself has claimed that it was supposed to be like an inspiration, like based on that. But I can, yeah, as I said, I can get why people hate it, but it doesn't deserve that kind of hate. It really doesn't. It does have a lot of good aspects within the film. Josh Brolin does a terrific job. Um,
I want to talk about Josh Brolin.
okay.
There's parts of the performances that I liked and parts of the performances I didn't like, but I can get to
It
that
was
later. Finish your
inconsistent.
point.
No, but honestly, I personally, honestly feel like the person who played Odaisu in the original one was powerful, captivating,
Yeah.
enthralling. Like you couldn't take your eyes off of him. He encapsulated the character so fucking perfectly. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
cannot imagine anyone else being cast as that guy. Truly, you
Yeah.
can't.
I agree.
No, no, like, he-
He
and
was he was by far the best performance in the movie, like by far.
yeah,
Which
no, truly, truly.
in the remake, sorry, in the remake, there's a couple of good performances that you could like stand out as well. There
Mm.
are they know that like show stealers, but whereas in the original, I kind of see Odetsu by himself being like the one who carries the entire film. In the newer one, there's a couple more
Hmm.
performances I personally liked.
No, no, no. I can understand that, but like again, that's the thing. The guy who played Odaisu in the original one did a phenomenal job, but he still
Yeah.
doesn't carry the movie. Like the movie overall is still well carried by everything
Oh
else
yeah.
too, by every other aspect. Because again,
I
like
would say
which
by the plot more than the
then
performances
the
themselves.
exactly yeah no because the plot itself is so interesting and it's so groundbreaking. Like I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before or since. Honestly, like
The new one,
well,
of
the
course.
remake, sure, but like you can't execute it like they did.
Oh
Like you
yeah,
can't,
yeah, of
you
course.
can't, you can't compare that. Like sure, they tried to redo that and they did a good job, but like it's like saying, what's it called? It's like if you tried to remake The Shining, I'm sure if you put enough passion and know what you're doing and everything, you can do a good enough job. But no way you can remake The Shining exactly as it was or imitate its greatness. Like you
Oh,
understand
of
what I mean?
course. Yeah.
So like it's kind of that idea. And there are certain things you can't redo off of that, especially like the directing, the cinematography, the score, the acting, the story, the flow of everything, how it goes, the interactions. I mean, mind you, it may seem very alien to us, but like if you look at it, especially like from the perspective of someone who is into like foreign films and everything and understands Korean culture well enough, you can see that like it seems very organic. Like very, very organic with like how the story flows and how everything goes. I mean, even I have like one slight nitpick with the original film, but that doesn't stop me from absolutely loving it. Truly. So,
So what would the nitpick be?
well, we'll get into that the more we talk about the plot itself. But I
Okay.
mean, on the aspect of filmmaking, it does a phenomenal job. Like I've never felt bored. It was really well paced through and through. Truly.
Okay. So I slightly disagree with you on that.
Really.
Very slightly. There was in like I want to say two things. It's not big things that completely took me out of the movie, but I thought about them while I was watching the original version. Um, so the first one is in the second act, I kind of got a little bored. I kind of for a tad bit, after Odetsu, walks away from that girl, their thing, and he goes to like finding who was his guy who put them in. At that point, for me, this movie slows down heavily. It picks back up again once they invade her apartment and stuff. So that's where the movie picks back up again. But there's a chunk of the movie that I kind of think slowed down heavily, especially from the first half.
Are you serious?
First.
So
For
you're
me
saying
personally.
that, by the way, at that point, that's when they give the action scene. That's when they have him raid the building.
I'll talk about that as well.
Oh.
I will talk about the action scene. So
I get the feeling you didn't like it too much.
oh, I'll you know what? I'll talk about this after this one more point that I say.
Okay,
So
sure.
the second point I wanted to say is kind of the tone, but that it was not, again, that's I guess like the style of filmmaking in Korea, because it kind of reminded me very similar in a slightly similar way to Parasite, that it's kind of this like dark comedy almost, but at
Yeah,
parts also yeah. And I kind of feel like the tone where with the Spike Lee one, where it was all serious, slightly fit the movie better. I felt the stakes a little higher than when there's like, not the jokes never were like out of place, but it kind of shifted too much between dark comedy and seriousness for my personal taste.
Okay, no, I get it. Like at that point, like it's more akin to taste itself. I
Yeah.
understand that. Like I don't mind that. I can get why it feels like as if you'd want this story to be more seriously told. But then again, like in the style of filmmaking in Korea, they like to mix a little bit
Oh
of
yeah.
comedy in everything, and I get that. I understand
And
why they'd want to do that.
I do love it in Parasite. Like Parasite is tone wise and everything is perfect. But this for this specific movie, it's just the one little nitpick. And since
Okay,
you brought
no,
up
I get that.
since you brought up the fight, um, I won't say I hated the fight, but if you look online, if you look on, if you ask a lot of other people, in the film industry and stuff, a lot of people will call this the top 10 fight in film history. A lot of
I
people
do
will
not
call it
agree
the
with
top.
that. I
Okay,
do not
okay,
agree with
that's
that.
good. That's good. A lot of people will call it the top 10 fight, maybe even a top 5 fight, and a lot of people will call it the best fight in any movie of all time, which is absolutely bonkers.
No,
Now,
it's not. It's not. I can agree with you on that. Like, it
it's
is really well choreographed and shot. Like, how they
okay.
shot it and choreographed it was really, really well done, but I would not consider it, like,
I
top 10. I consider it maybe, like, top 25, maybe.
still not. Considering a lot of, if you consider all the Jackie Chan movies and all the kung
Okay, I
fu
mean, again, they
fight
all
scenes,
fall under, they fall all under, like, one league. So, like, I consider
yeah.
Jackie Chan and, like, Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, all of them, like, taking up one spot. Like, you get what I mean?
I mean,
'Cause-
you can't really have up to you. That's up to you.
No. Like, I'm talking about their careers individually. I'm not talking about, like, clumping all of them all at once. I'm just talking about, like, their careers individually. Because, like, each of their own careers individually have, like, their own highlights. So I like to kind of, like, mix in the highlights with that idea. Because if I made individually, I'd have like a top 200. You get what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Slightly on the cinematography and choreography. I won't say like I can do. I'm a student filmmaker who had one fight scene that was so-so.
I know exactly which fight scene you're talking about.
Two fight scenes. Two fight scenes. I apologize.
Yeah, you're welcome for those, by the way.
One of these weren't your job.
Yeah, but
the other ones is talking. Yeah, of course. So one is so and the other one is but okay. In terms of choreography, this is not a difficult choreography. You have a guy with a hammer, and then he loses the hammer, and then he punches guys once, and they go down. At one it's still cool. Like they kind of portray carnage almost happening. It's going at him from all the sides, and what I love the most about the fight is the ending. That's something that the Spike Lee one is terrible at. The elevator scene at the end.
Yeah, no, the
that's
elevator
atrocious.
Scene was bad.
In the Spike Lee one. In the original one, it's done way better. It makes sense.
Well, I mean, okay, so what I like about the fight scene in the original, I don't feel like it has to be badass or anything, but like it shows the realism. Like it's guys getting tired of the fight. Like not everyone's gonna be a badass, mind you. It's a guy who was locked up in a room for 15 years doing imaginary training. So like I can imagine like these guys. It's realistic for them to be scared of him because he literally got stabbed in the back, bashed in the head, kicked down, but he still got up and kicked their asses. Either way. Okay. So, like, I'm looking at it more from that perspective. So I can understand why you'd think of it as like, oh no, it's not a top 10 or top 25 or anything kind of scene. Like, yeah, no. But
okay, for me, it's a solid fight. It's not even like it's not even a great fight for me, personally. It's a solid fight. It's a
solid fight, yeah, no. But again, what carries it along more and why so many people love it is because of how organic and realistic it is to like actually someone getting into a group fight, get realistically being able to kick all their asses. Because not everyone is a Bruce Lee or a Jackie Chan or a Shang-Chi or something like that. Like, you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get. For me personally, the most impressive feat about this fight is that it reportedly only took them 17 takes. Which is bonkers. And also, I would say a slight mistake. Because if you rewatch the fight and really pay attention, there's so many missed punches that don't connect. There's so many punches that, there's like a 2-inch distance between the face and the fist. And I know, like, it's impressive in 17 takes still to have it this good. You should have done at least, I don't know.
No. I can
30,
agree with you.
Like
I can agree with you on that. I can agree with you on that 100%. And, like I'm not trying to hype up the fight. Like I'm saying it was good for what it was and it was revolutionary for the time too, especially with like what they were trying to go for as well.
I would say it's iconic in the cinematic style because even Shang-Chi actually replicated it on the bus fights like, in a way.
Yeah, no. There's so many movies that replicated that.
Yeah.
So many movies that replicated this. So yeah.
The new Oldboy.
Sorry, I got a little bit of bullshit stuck in my throat.
So, and the last thing I want to just say about this fight is, the wide angle that just like kind of gets a general coverage. I guess works. It makes this thing iconic, but there's so many guys who just are like ready to hit him with a stick, but are just like they can't hit him just for the sake of the story.
No. It's not that. It's not that. Like, okay, if you rewatch the scene and you
rewatched
see
it
how
a couple times.
No, like you see how tiny the hallway is. Do you see how fucking tiny the hallway is? And like
I know,
how
but
all
still,
that, so like they're trying to wait. They're like, okay, well, no, wait, I can't now. No, wait, I can't. No, like realistically, in a fight, if you get jumped, there are a couple of guys who are gonna wait in the back and be like, no, wait, let this guy finish, and then I'll jump in.
No, I'm not talking about guys in the back. Of course, these guys won't be able to do a hit. I'm talking guys in the front who are behind him, and they're just waiting for their turn to get punched. You could see it in
Well,
the choreography.
no, I mean, yeah,
And
no, I mean, again,
I'll
same thing in
say
an actual fight because they're like, wait, is that punch gonna take him down or not? Oh, it didn't. Okay.
okay, but like if you're watching a fight in a movie, you kind of want to have it as like you said. You're saying realistic, but
Yeah,
for me
no,
it's like
because
if
it's
there's a
realistic
guy
and organic.
right
It's
behind
realistic.
him.
It's realistic and organic. Like, if you look at it through the perspective of a real fight, this makes a lot more sense. But if you look at it through cinema logic, then yeah, no, it's kind of a turnoff. I get where you're coming from, but again, like
So
you're.
it reminds me of the Last Jedi throne room fight, which is praised by so many Star Wars fans. And you have I don't even know what these red guys are called. I don't even care. But these
Let's
like
call them
red
period
storm.
troopers.
Okay, yeah, sure. Period troopers. There's so many of them that are just like waiting for their turn to get their asses kicked, and they're just like waving around, doing like whoa, 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 ho, 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 ho. And that's come on, like, and that's especially the case for these period troopers, because, but it's also similar to this because I feel like if you show someone on screen, they have to that if you talk a lot to stunt choreographers, which I watch so many videos like guys like Scott Atkins, they have so many people coming on to Corridor Crew, Stuntman Reacts, and everyone talks about if you have someone that's like playing a goon that's getting beat down, you have to have the timing right, or it looks like they're waiting. It looks like they're waiting for their turn to get hit, not to hit.
Okay,
And
I
that's
can understand
the
that,
art
yeah.
of cinema. That's the art of choreography, timing, and the newer one hides these people in the background way better than the old one, in my opinion.
Okay, no.
It
I can
uses
get that, yeah.
it uses a moving camera way more, which again changes the style of the cinematography. It's not as iconic, but the moving camera and the slightly more cropped in aspect ratio and just the look is a bit more closer onto Josh Brolin. You get fewer of these guys in the background that are just nonsense, like swinging into nothing.
Let's actually now talk about the new one, like the comparative between the two. So you were saying that you feel that with the choreography, you feel like they did a better job. But I agree with that to some extent. But the problem is that it was also very choppy, like very very choppy with the editing,
Oh
with
yeah.
more specific parts and like the cinematography. It just didn't feel like it fit too well. Especially like I also especially agree with how when they cut to the elevator scene, you're
Yeah.
like
That was
Oh,
that was
God.
okay. The worst parts about the Spike Lee fight or the Josh Brolin fight are the parts that they try to replicate. When
Yeah,
when they
no.
try to be original, where they have like they film the first level of the goons that Josh Brolin fights, then they kind of move the camera in the they twist it down into the lower level, which was cool, and they kind of follow him a bit more. In that sense, the fight is good. But as soon as
Okay,
they
can I-
forcefully just have the knife in his back just for the sake of having a knife in his back, and the elevator scene just for the sake of an elevator scene, that's the end of the fight. That kind of ruins the whole moment for me.
It does, but can I ask you something?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. What seems more realistic? Within the case of Odaisu, he grew up in a country where he has a background in Taekwondo and everything, okay? And when he was locked up, he actually practiced his punches and kicks and did like his own form of martial art when he was locked up, okay? Now, lock that in mind. With Josh Brolin, he was locked up. We don't see him train. All we see him do is doing yoga. Yet all of a sudden, he can fight and he's a badass. How the fuck does that work? How the fuck does that work? Please, explain to me how.
I mean, yeah, that's one of the things that I want to say that the original movie does way better, is the entire first part. From Odeitsu getting captured to him being in prison, that's way better than Josh Brolin trying to be a fucking alcoholic and sucking at that part of acting.
Woo! I'm drunk. I saw that. I was like, oh my fucking.
That was okay. As soon as he gets out of prison, he's perfect. He's great. He's this menacing guy who, like you say after, like the guys are actually kind of scared to fight. When he's that, he's great. but everything that comes before sucks. And like you just said, what they fucked up at the start affects how you interpret the movie later.
Mm. Yeah, because he all of a sudden became a badass for no reason.
Oh yeah.
Like, legit, okay, with Odaisu, it makes sense. He has, like, okay, he grew up in Korea, so he may have a background in Taekwondo. He was fighting from the beginning to the end. You saw him bloody his knuckles. You saw him practicing. You saw him kicking, punching, hurting himself, but still keep on going to the end. All the way before he escaped, you could see him, like, start, doing formations, punching quicker and all that. And you're like, damn, okay, like, this man's hungry. This man's gonna go kick some ass. But then, like, with Josh Brolin, you see him doing yoga, and you're like, oh, okay, he's zenning out. And then he leaves, and you just see him kick two guys' asses that are, like, twice his size, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? How? Is there, like, some Muay Thai or some shit that they threw in the beginning that they forgot to mention, or that they forgot to show?
I mean, he's Josh Brolin. I guess that's the explanation.
No, but still, like...
I get your point.
No, and I love how... What makes me laugh so much is the dental torture scene versus the neck flesh torture scene.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the original movie does that so much better. Like, the effect of having and seeing someone pull out your teeth is just so visceral. But then seeing someone, like, having a piece of flesh just carved off casually with, like, Samuel Jackson, be like, oh, God, no, I was like, kind of missed there, buddy. Kind of.
So, I guess, can I just say a couple of things that I really think the newer one does way better than the original? In my opinion, personal.
Sure, shoot.
So, the first one is, I guess, just slightly a personal taste. I prefer the bad guy in the newer one slightly. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people say that he's like really over the top, and I didn't mind it.
Okay,
I feel like
fair enough.
he's this kind of his personality is weird, his actions are weird, and given that, I feel like his character kind of fits that he's this weirdo and over the top guy, in my personal opinion, of course. What do you think? Which bad guy did you prefer more, and why?
Okay, original way more, because he actually has motive. You feel that he's actually menacing. You feel like that he's truly controlling the life of Odaisu, and you feel like that the way the actor specifically presents the character is so, like, it's enthralling is the best way that I could do it. Like, he manages to balance someone who is so fucked up yet so tragic at the same time. With the original, like, I agree, it's over the top and charming in its own way, but the problem is that, like, with the given backstory and everything, it's just stupid. Like, I'm sorry, but the backstory of being a murder-suicide... It just killed me, especially when the dad walked in with a shotgun, like, and he's like, "Father," and just sits up and is about to undo his pants, and he just shoots him.
So
I'm sorry, I was dying. I paused the movie and I was rolling on the floor laughing my ass off. I'm sorry, like, that actually... that was too campy, because, like, again, you said that you prefer the serious tone, but, like, that part specifically was way too campy for the movie.
So,
like, I love camp, but, like, that just didn't match up well tonally, like, with what they were going for in the story.
So me personally, I kind of feel like in the all the seriousness, him being not this like funny character, but he's more like mentally weird. Of course, very weird. He's over the top, like you were saying as well.
I mean, wouldn't you agree the original one's also over the top too, in a sense?
Of course, he's not this over the top.
No, but, like, the other one's over the top in, like, a more realistic way, like, in a theatrical way. Like, here's my fucked up symphony, and I'm gonna show it to you. This one is more like, I feel like he got possessed by Jim Carrey for a couple of scenes. That's the best way I could describe it.
So I really felt like, the guy in the new Old Boy was like really, how would I say the best way? You know, he wasn't mentally okay. His whole family was kind of whole weird, like that whole situation. It's fucked up. It's really fucked up. But I just felt like his performance fit what that I what Spike Lee did with these characters.
Okay, fair enough. I can agree with you on that, but like again, personal taste.
Oh yeah, of
I
course.
prefer I no no like the I'm not saying the villain was bad in any way, and I'm not saying the acting was bad in any way. I mean, of course, I have to laugh at the one specific background scene. I'm sorry, like that's just
Of course.
it kills me. It kills me. You can understand why,
Oh
but
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
okay, but like with the one who played Jisoo, I believe was his name, he he was like he was mysterious yet threatening. That's what I loved about him. And like he became so maniacal at the end, like it was so fucked up. Okay, can I just can I throw in my nitpick and then my favorite part for the original?
Sure, go ahead.
So first the nitpick. The fact that it all entirely depended on him falling in love with her when he could have just easily gone to any other restaurant
Yep.
and found any other girl to help him, just kind of like it was like that's the only part of the plot where I was
Yeah.
like that's
I would.
like
That's like one. That's the second thing that I wanted to say. The entire arc with the female characters, I think, with Elizabeth Olsen, it's done way better in every way.
no, I know. I'm sorry. I feel like there's another reason why you loved Elizabeth Olsen so much. I mean, I could agree, but
Look,
I'm trying to talk about this objectively.
I'm objective too. Of course, that
Uh-huh.
scene gets its
Bro,
own points
you're
in a separate
you're
category.
objective. You're not objective.
No, no,
you're
no.
objective.
No, no, no. Okay, chill. That scene gets its points in a separate category. Not in. I'm not counting these points into this.
Okay.
Don't worry. But otherwise, I really feel like everything with Elizabeth Olsen. I feel like the villain there. It seemed more planned, and everything pacing wise, I guess, and character wise with Elizabeth Olsen felt more fitting for me personally in the second one.
Okay, I can kind of agree with you on that, but I feel like there was more chemistry between Odaisu and the original girl. Like you feel no. Like personally, I feel like even though it was like a little weird, you could feel like that like they're both lonely people trying to get through
So
life, and like they understand each other well enough, and you can understand why like their love kind of grows, but in a weird and quirky way. Like
so
I can understand
yes,
why.
I agree why that the love grows, but I hate how they meet and how their interaction
Okay, no,
starts.
no, 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 no. How they meet and how their interaction starts, I can agree with that because, like, again, it all comes just from a pure fucking coincidence.
And I
Like,
hate
just-
the part where she's like, "Oh yeah, I took you to my apartment not to fucking take care of you. I came to here. You came here because I
No,
like you.
she's
You're hot,
no, no,
and I
no,
want to
no,
fuck
no,
you.
no, no, no,
But I'll
no,
tell
no,
you
no,
what,
no,
it's
no.
just
That's not what she said. She said I can understand why, and I do like you, yes, but I don't feel like I'm ready for that specifically. But she did take her back to her apartment to take care of him. She actually did originally. That was the intention. But I can understand why you kind of misconstrued that. I thought that too first
But
time I
that-
watched
it-
it, but then when I rewatched it, I kind of like got it more. I'm like, oh,
That's-
okay, I can kind of get.
That's what. But if you want to say that in the dialogue. She literally doesn't say that. At least while watching the subtitles. Of course, I can't speak Korean, but with the subtitles,
Oh,
that's
fuck.
literally what I got from it. If of course in Korean it says what you just said, then it makes perfect sense. It makes more sense, but I'm basing it off what I understood.
Okay, fair enough. But all right, so only nitpick,
Yes.
snitpicks. The ending, the twist, holy fucking shit. Even rewatching it, I still get goosebumps. Even thinking about it, I still get goosebumps. I'm sorry. Like, just the reveal of that, about why the entire thing happened. Like the last 15 to 20 minutes, minus the, like, epilogue at the very end. Those last 15 to 20 minutes are so intense. From when he manages to get into the penthouse all the way until Jisoo shoots himself in the head in the elevator. Wow. No words can describe how phenomenal that scene was. How much of a powerhouse of acting there was between the two of them. How they played off each other. How Odaisu was like just running through emotions, begging for his life while also simultaneously threatening Jisoo while trying not to like disrespect him. While it was intense, especially like his initial reaction to realizing that he just fucked his own daughter and is in love with his own daughter. I mean, what the fuck? It was whoa. Like,
So I feel like
whoa.
that the daughter element was also handled very well in the second one. For me
It was,
personally,
but
because I watched it before the original, so I didn't know what's coming. I didn't know this plot element was gonna come, and I the only thing I'll say I did slightly get like I thought about it when he was watching them. I was like, oh, is it his daughter potentially? Like, is this? But I kind of forgot it, and I feel like it was executed well too, especially kind of it had that diversion like showing her that becoming a I don't know if she was like she was doing the violin or something. So that was especially watching that one first. It made it good for me.
no, I can understand that, but like you can understand why I prefer the original so much more
Yeah.
because they handle it so much more with mystery. Like they shroud it so much more. Like you don't understand that. Like why is he stalking him? Why is he studying him? Why is he so curious about the love that he has with this girl and everything and all that? And then you realize at the end you're like, oh fuck. Especially like the reveal through the book was so much more effective.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's his original family. Wait, whoa, what the fuck? And then you realize that that's his daughter. You're like, oh my god. I remember the first time I watched that, my jaw dropped. I paused the movie, and I just sat there silently for 5 minutes thinking, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? Why am I watching this? And then I'm like, okay, I have to know what the hell happened. And then I just continue. And then
Okay.
I see his reaction. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
So what I hated about the second one was the very last scene where Josh Brolin smiles. What is there to smile about, buddy? What is there
Where
to
what?
smile about? In the second one, at the very end, Josh Brolin locks himself up, sits literally in
And
front
smile-
of the
yeah.
camera, and smiles. What is there to smile about?
Okay, okay, it makes more sense because in the original, they try to hypnotize him to make him forget, but then they kind of leave it open-ended. Like, did he actually forget? Did he remember?
I hated the hypnotizing stuff. I didn't like that. That's such a weird plot element. It was weird for me personally.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes the most sense because, like, even though it was a very thin veiling MacGuffin, it kind of helped carry the story along well enough to actually get it to where it wanted to go. And it also left, like, a nice little open-ended, bleak finale for the entire film.
Yep.
So, I mean, okay, as you know, for me, like, every single film, how I would go for the scale is all the way up until an 8.5. God, I don't know what's wrong with my throat. All right, all the way up to an 8.5 is mostly objective. Once you pass an 8.5, for me, it's subjective. So subjectively, no, like on the aspect of objectivity, once you get past everything on remarks of filmmaking, plot, acting, and everything, that's when you reach the 8.5. That's like the border point. And that's why I give it a 9, because like even with the nitpicks, I still find it to be a phenomenal film nonetheless. I absolutely love it. Would I call it a masterpiece? No. But would I recommend this movie to anyone? Abso-fucking-lutely. Everyone and anyone. Like, it's an experience that is required to have with the original. But, like, if for the people who I know have never been into foreign films or anything, obviously I'll recommend, like, the newer one, just so then they could, like, still get a taste of it, but, like, a more watered down taste of the original.
If a casual moviegoer just asked me, or just someone who wanted to watch a movie, I would show them the second one, 100%.
No, I get it. But then, like, if it's someone who's, like, more experimental and wants to, like, explore foreign films or anything, I'm like, here you go. Here you go, my child. This is my gift to you.
Okay. I feel like, we're hitting towards the end. One last little nitpick about what I think made more sense in the newer one than the older one. It's nothing you could really control, but for me, the use of technology in the second one made way more sense and was more relevant than the first one.
Okay, I mean, I get it. That's a bit more of a nitpick, but, like, realistically, they did have listening devices back in 2003. They did have tracking devices. They had all that technology available, but it also made sense that, like, the only reason why it worked so well was because the guy who was controlling him and studying him and everything was, like, filthy fucking rich. So it makes sense that he'd have, like, all the stuff to his disposal.
But that's, like, the one thing, like, at that time, it's a slightly bit more I wouldn't say unrealistic, but it's less likely to be to have a person so easily tracked, so easily, manipulated and stuff, like controlled, locked up and stuff. Whereas in the newer one, it kind of felt a bit more realistic for me personally, watching it. That's just like a personal nitpick. Of course,
fair enough.
The filmmakers you can't do nothing with that once you have that film, and it still for me works. Like in that part, like the tracking and everything, I feel like there's nothing you could change, and given it's 2003, I think there's nothing you could change about the time when you release it. So
yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, at the end of the day, I can understand why you prefer the new one a little more, and like how you put them head to head, and you can understand why I love the original one more. Obviously.
Now, I was prepared to love the newer one way more. And honestly, I don't know which one I would pick. If without knowing the original, or like without comparing them, I would probably watch the newer one. Just kind of if I was to pick one, but there's a lot of stuff that the old one does that makes me hate the new one. If you know what I mean, like the copying of the shots and stuff.
I completely get that. Yeah.
The octopus reference was terrible. Like that was.
Because in the original, in the original, it made so much more sense because he felt like in order to take someone's life, he felt like he had to eat something alive to be able to take the life of something in order to take the life of someone else. So like in the new one, they were just like, oh yeah, an octopus. We have to include an octopus.
Like all I feel like after watching the old one, it kind of made me hate the newer one a bit more. Not hate. But there's more things that I dislike about it now, or like disrespect.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like it kind of gives you a little more perspective.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like if you watch the old one first and then the new one, I feel like your feelings would have aligned more with mine. I don't think like to the same extent of the score, but like at least to the point where at least you would have given it like an 8 or an 8.5 for the original, and then like kept the new one at a 7. Yep. No. Like I understand why your kind of perspective is warped, and I get it. I really do. And I'm not like dissing on you or anything. You're still considering both of them like good movies either way. So
yeah. One very last thing. The music in the original one, mwah. In the new one.
Oh, dude! I have the entire album downloaded to my computer. I listen to it when I study. Do you understand? Yeah. Like I love the score of the original so fucking much. Holy shit! Like
it's good.
Oh. I wish Hollywood could like actually make music like that for their own movies, like to score their movies like that so well. I really wish that were a possibility. I truly do.
Yep.
But like, a man can dream.
Well, this is, I guess, the end of our Oldboy episode.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, to be honest, it's not as bad as I thought it would go.
yeah, it was very different to what I expected. But if there's any
Same.
movies that old well-known movies that you want us to look back on, or two movies that you want us to compare, let us know.
All right, so and of course, if you like the video and if you want to keep watching us and continue to support us, then please like and subscribe. And if you have any recommendations, questions, comments, or concerns, then leave a comment below. We'd love to hear what you have to say, even if it's shitting on us or praising us or, just giving us genuine nitpicks or
Yeah.
your own opinions on the movies that we do talk about. And for next week, something completely different. We might do another review, or we actually might be able to watch and talk about Dune. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I actually want to really talk about The Guilty coming out with Jake
Ooh.
Gyllenhaal coming out
Okay,
on
that's a good idea
Netflix.
too. That's a good idea too. Okay.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But otherwise, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one.
All right.
Peace.
See ya.